Hi, this is Leanne at Complete Payroll. Welcome to Payroll Country. Today we're going to take a look at how to complete the setup and payroll entries for employees with leave under the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, or FFCRA, in Evolution Classic. First and foremost, new earning and deduction codes must be set up in your company. If you have not requested setup for FFCRA leave, please contact your dedicated customer service representative to begin that process now. To begin setup in Evolution Classic, click on the Employee button on the left and select Time Off Accrual, which opens the Browse tab to show the list of all our active employees. Click on the desired employee to select and then click the green plus at the top of the page to create a new record. In the Detail window, click into the Type field and select FFCRA Sick Plan from the drop-down menu. In the Current Accrued field, enter 2 times the employee's average hours weekly and enter the reason appropriately. Next, enter the date that the employee began leave in the Effective Date field. Click the green check and little green check to save and commit changes. If the employee is eligible for FFCRA Expanded Leave for childcare, click the green plus at the top of the screen again and select FFCRA Extended Leave in the Type field. For this benefit, enter 10 times the employee's average hours weekly in the Current Accrued field and enter the reason appropriately. In the Effective Date field, enter the date that is 2 weeks after the employee first begins FFCRA sick leave. For example, if the employee began sick leave on April 3rd, enter April 17th as the effective date for the expanded leave benefit. Click the green check and the little green check to save and commit changes. Repeat these steps as needed for additional employees. The next step in setup of our leave benefits is in Employee Scheduled EDs, where we need to add special memo codes created for reporting purposes. Click the Employee button on the left and select Scheduled EDs, opening the Browse tab to show the list of active employees. Click on the desired employee to select and then click the green plus at the top of the page to create a new record. Click into the Code field and select M20 FFCRA ER benefit from the drop-down list. Next, click into the Effective End Date field and enter the employee's expected date of return from leave. Click the green check and small green check to save and commit changes. An important note here is if the leave is not taken for the full anticipated amount of time, this effective end date must be adjusted before processing payroll once the employee has returned from leave. One last step for setup is needed if there is an employer health cost for this employee, and the employee does not currently have an active deduction for employer-sponsored health care. In this case, click the green plus at the top of the page to create a new record, click into the Code field, and select the appropriate code for your company, possibly EERM or M11. Next, enter the appropriate per pay period cost in the Amount field. Click the green check and little green check to save and commit. Repeat these steps as needed for additional employees. Now that the leave benefits are set up in Employee Maintenance, we'll take a look at how to enter the appropriate leave hours and earnings in Payroll. Click on the Payroll button, and after creating your payroll and batch, click the Quick Entry tab and add the following codes to your grid: ES1, Emergency Sick Self, ES2, Emergency Sick Other, and EF1, Emergency FMLA. To add a column for any new code, right-click the mouse anywhere on the grid, click ED, click Add, and select the appropriate code with the hours description. You may add the amount columns at your discretion, but the hours columns are necessary, and the amounts will auto-calculate. To enter hours manually on your quick entry grid, select the appropriate code and enter the full number of hours the employee normally averages for a pay period. Use the code ES1 Emergency Sick Full if an employee is unable to work or unable to telework due to a need for leave because the employee is subject to a federal, state, or local quarantine or isolation order related to COVID-19, has been advised by a healthcare provider to self-quarantine related to COVID-19, or is experiencing COVID-19 symptoms and is seeking a medical diagnosis. Use the code ES2 Emergency Sick Other, 2/3, for the first 2 weeks if the employee is unable to work or unable to telework due to a need for leave because the employee is caring for an individual subject to an order of quarantine or self-quarantine as previously described, is caring for a child whose school or place of care is closed or child care provider is unavailable for reasons related to COVID-19, or is experiencing any other substantially similar condition specified by the Secretary of Health and Human Services in consultation with the Secretaries of Labor and Treasury. Use the code EF1 Emergency FMLA for any additional weeks up to 10 weeks the employee is unable to work or unable to telework due to a need for leave because the employee is caring for a child whose school or place of care is closed or child care provider is unavailable for reasons related to COVID-19. Again, because this is important, enter the full number of hours for each employee that they normally average per pay period. In other words, do not enter 2/3 of normal hours for emergency sick or FMLA. Enter the full hours, and Evolution will compensate at 2/3 and follow the appropriate thresholds. If you import your payroll hours from our timekeeping system, SwipeClock or TimeWorks Plus, these codes have been added to the category column selection on your employee time cards. You can add the appropriate hours for each employee just as you would add any other hours while editing time cards. It is equally important to use the full number of hours the employee normally averages for a pay period on the time card. Once all time cards are updated, continue to import into payroll as usual. If you are entering benefits for a salaried employee who is earning both salary and FFCRA amounts in the same pay period, you must create a second check for their regular salary earnings. This is required because upon preprocessing, any salary amount on the same check with FFCRA hours will be zeroed out to prevent the employee from accidentally being paid for both. On the second check, you will need to adjust the salary amount and remove any scheduled deductions that should not be duplicated. For assistance creating this additional check, please reach out to your customer service representative or view our demonstration video, Creating Second Checks in Evolution Classic. Once all hours and earnings are entered, continue steps to complete your payroll processing as usual. This concludes our demonstration of how to complete FFCRA leave for an employee in Evolution Classic. If you have any questions about this process, please reach out to your dedicated customer service representative. We are here to help like always. Thank you for joining me today, and from all of us in Payroll Country, stay safe and be well.